Hi everybody, I'm Justin from Main Man Bassing. In this video, I'm going to show you how I took apart my carburetor and cleaned it for a Mercury 9.9 4-stroke outboard engine. If you're new to the channel, I do product reviews, fishing adventures, and how-to videos that all revolve around bass fishing in the Northeast. I'd love to have you to sub, so if you're into fishing or cleaning carbs, hit that subscribe button. Let me preface right now. Disclaimer preface. I'm not responsible for anything that happens to your engine as a result of you watching this video. If you're going to play and tinker with your carburetor, that's all on you, man, or woman. You need to consult your owner's manual, and you need to consult a mechanic who's licensed to work with the brand of your engine, right? Like, so this is for a Merc, but it's probably, the carburetor is probably very similar in Tohatsu's and Yamaha's and other major brands, and these smaller 10, 9.9, 10, 15, 20 horsepower engines. All right, so that's that. I will link up carb cleaner for you. You also need a socket extension for your socket wrench. It's like $8, I think. It's like, you know, so you can get behind. That's how you're going to detach it from the intake manifold. All right, so in the video, I'm going to detach it, take it apart, clean it, show you how I cleaned it, show you the needles, the high-speed needle and the low-speed idle needle, and how to put it back together and on the engine, and I'll start the engine and I'll show you that it works. All right, so that's going to be it. I would say definitely take pictures of, you know, if you're, it's not as hard as you think, right? It's like, I'm kind of frustrated with myself that I didn't do this earlier as like preventative maintenance, because there's not that many pieces. There's the float pin are a little challenging, right? And then that's it. Oh, you also need a mini screwdriver. I'll link that up because you're gonna need a mini flathead screwdriver to get that high-speed needle out. But anyways, you can handle this. You know what I'm saying? It's not a big deal, okay? Wash your hands after you put that carb cleaner on you. All right, but anyways, here's the video. I hope it helps. Enjoy. I don't know how this thing comes out. Let's see. I want to lose that. All right. All right, this shot is a bird's eye view of the carburetor as it sits in the engine. So this is the very top of it. Now, on the left side, as you see a little black rubber, that's gasket, and on top of that, it's the exhaust panel. And it just has two screws that you can unscrew and to get in here, okay? And I would blast all this off with carb cleaner, and I have a little red circle, and you see those tiny little holes? Those holes are about a 1/2 millimeter thick. So you can blast those out with there's 5 of them, and you can blast them out with carb cleaner. And then you need wire. You're gonna have to find wire. I've never done it myself, but I would start at a 1/2 millimeter because I know those holes are smaller than a millimeter. So I would get like copper wire that's a 1/2 millimeter thick or something. You might want to replace my thumb on the left side there, that gasket. You might want to replace that gasket with a carb rebuild kit. I think it would come in there. I'm not sure. You have to double check. And also there's that panel. You'll see it when you look at the top of it. There's an exhaust valve. Make sure that that's not clogged. Okay, both the tube and the valve. The tube that's connected to it and the valve that's part of the panel. I'm going to show you right now. I'll show you the like looking up from inside the carburetor. I'll show you. Hold on. Okay, and this view would be below the carburetor, looking up at the top, and you see in the red circle, those are those 5 holes. So this is from inside the carburetor. That gold plate that sits at an angle with 2 screws in it is the throttle plate. And as you open the throttle, that'll allow more air and gas to flow through the chamber or flow through the vacuum, the carb vacuum, into the combustion chamber. But you can see all that carbon resin that I have right over those 5 holes. So I cleaned those off and blasted it with carb cleaner. And if you can get wire small enough, you might want to try and do that. I would suggest going at a 0.5 millimeter, though I haven't done it myself. The carb cleaner was enough. Those weren't really that bad. But I wanted to show you those. You should clean those out. You should take a look at those and clean those out. All right.
There's my gasket. Oops. There you go.
And this right here in the red circle, that's the top of the carburetor panel. That's the exhaust valve that I was talking about. Just you have those 2 little screws, you unscrew those, you can get into those 5 tiny holes that I was talking about.
Oh, carb's out. It's actually looking a lot better than I thought it would just initially, but now we got to set it up. Take it apart. Yeah, so these are the 4 screws that you want to.
Okay, this compartment right here, I didn't mess around with it on this video. It's like a compartment for priming, but my engine doesn't even utilize this compartment because I don't have a priming bulb on my engine. I have one on my gas line, but not my engine. But if you were to open it up, there's a spring in there, so be careful. It's not too crazy, but there's a spring and a diaphragm gasket that you might want to look at if you have a priming bulb on your engine. If not, I would probably just leave it alone. This was the culprit right here. All that crap along the edge of the carburetor. That black ring is the gasket. There was just so much gum. I didn't realize it until the end of summer. But because if you look at research, if you research this, everyone's talking about the needles. So my focus and attention was on the needles. But what happens is that gasket dries out, and then it's got the gum under it, and what it does is it lets air seep in. So there's no seal on that bowl, and the vacuum can't work properly and eject the fuel into the carburetor and combustion chamber. So what I did was I used a steel scrubbing pad to get the edges of the carburetor, and then I gently brushed off I dipped that in seafoam and then brushed the edges of the carburetor, and then I gently cleaned the gasket. I was afraid to take the gasket off because I was afraid it wouldn't sit right. But once you clean all that crap off and then soak the gasket in seafoam, it'll sit right back on. You might want to consider ordering a carb rebuild kit for like $100, and it should have that. You got to double check, but it should have that gasket inside of it if you're afraid that it's dried out and cracked. But I just soaked it in seafoam, brushed the edges off really well, and my engine is like almost 100% right now. The day after I cleaned it, like the first trip after I cleaned it.
I mean, it looks somewhat clean in there. Those are your needles right here. I mean, those look good. Gas is yellow. The float pin It's held down. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how well focused this is going to be for you guys, but the float pin's held down right here by a screwdriver, by a screw. I just don't know, maybe that was down too tight. But uh-oh. I didn't realize that was there. I don't know how that goes. I'm guessing it just drops in. I'm gonna clean this off. There's a float pin. Yeah, sorry. That goes right in here. I want to spray that off. Here is your high-speed pin needle, and then this is your idle. The idle is the one I'm concerned about for my engine. I mean, everything in this thing looks clean, man. It's really not that bad. There's some gunk around here that I'm going to spray and clean off. That might be what's causing leaks. I don't know. Then you look here, there's all kinds of crap here. I want to clean that all off. I mean, everything in here looks good. We'll see. Let's look at, probably need a small, yeah, I need a smaller flathead. Let me get it. Oof. See, that's your high-speed needle. You can see how small it is. I wish I had. And then that's the needle. You can see all those holes in there. Those all need to be cleaned out. So I'm going to clean these out. There's a fair amount of grease on here. All right, so now I'm going to take the idle needle out. That's the low speed needle. I mean, it doesn't look, it is actually, well, yeah, I can't see through it. It does actually look clogged. All right, so now I'm going to clean these edges, right? And then I'm going to clean this low speed needle. You can't see through that. The other one you can see through. I don't know if you're supposed to, but It looks clogged. And that's the whole thing that was giving me issues, was the low speed and the idling. Man, I wish I had a pipe cleaner. All right, I would not recommend this. I would not recommend this. I'm going to very gingerly push that through. No, it's not going through. I don't know if it's supposed to, though. All right, I can see through it now. I don't know if it's supposed to be like, you see, I can't get this through. Well, I'm not sure if you're supposed to be getting it through. But I can see through it now, so I guess that's better. I might just order. I don't know if a rebuild kit would have one of those, but those are all the main components. I'm going to put some gloves on and spray this crap. Spray here. Spray down the needle holes, and then spray all the needles. So I'm going to do that now. I'm not going to do it on film now. I'm going to do it away from my camera. Alright, so I have all the parts cleaned off. It's soaked in carb cleaner. I am going to now put it back together. I will say that that's the low speed needle, the idling and low speed. And this, you could not see through that hole. And then I cleaned it out, sprayed it out. You also couldn't see there's like little holes there. You couldn't see through that. That was all gummed up. And that's what's giving me trouble, is idling and low speed. Like full throttle, I'm fine. And there was a little bit of corrosion. This is the high speed needle. You can still see it. I couldn't clean it out that well. There's corrosion in there. The low speed was fine. I sprayed that out, and there's a bunch of crap here on the edge where the gasket sits. So I cleaned that out, and I also noticed like my carburetor is like yellow. You can't really see it now, but it was yellow like all down here. It's all like stained yellow. It looks like oil, and I have gas in my oil, and I have oil in my gas. So I think that's the fuel pump. So I'm going to put this back together, try to start it. And Tuesday, I'm getting a new fuel pump. So let's try and put this back together here. Start with the high speed. Can only go in one way. Alright, like if you put it in backwards, it'll sit up too high. Alright, and then this is the high speed needle. I don't know, it's like the cap, but that too is kind of clogged a little bit. There's a little hole in there. That was a little clogged, and there was a bunch of corrosion around the gasket. You gotta be careful, I guess, putting these in, because you have a brass screw and they're going onto steel thread. So you just need to be careful. Put it on a little tight. It was pretty tight when I had it on. There. I'll do the same for the high speed. High speed you have to screw in. Again, be gentle till it's down firm. not going to go too tight on that. Good. I don't want to go tighter than that. So that's in. Now it's time for the bowl. You have your float pin. Right. That's gonna go. Just gonna sit in there. Now your float can only go on one way. So you can only go on, there's this little piece has to go on top, and that's going to sit over the pin. Hold on, I have to take it away from the camera. So you have to put the float pin, see how it's attached? So my camera angle's upside down, but there. Yeah, sorry. It's not focused, but it has to sit in there like that. All right, and then that floats on. And you put the bar in. And then the screwdriver. Now here, I don't really know what I'm doing here. This screwdriver holds the pin in, or the bar. I don't know how tight it needs to be. Like just tight enough to open. If it's too tight, nah, I guess it doesn't matter. And you just want to check it, you want to hold it upside down. Make sure it comes down. I think that's good. I guess we'll find out. Okay, so that's all on. Now, these match up. Like you can see the holes here, right there. And then this up here and this right here. There you go. There's the carb looking clean. At some point, I'm going to drill this brass. There's a little brass screw right there that you can change the air intake. I'm going to drill that up. That's a later project. All right, now I'm gonna put it back. All my pieces are in. All right, I'm gonna put it back now. This gasket it's the same on both sides, so. So you see, right here is your gasket, and this is just going here. And I could just still do that by hand. And then on the other side, you can't see it, but it's in there too. So that's what you're looking at. So this is what I've been doing. I don't know how good the angle was, but here's your gasket on this side. There's 3 gaskets. There's 2 thin ones and this thick one right here. And then on this side, there's 1 gasket, and it's on the air intake, and it's just a little circle. So, but that's my model. You need to check your owner's manual. And then so, you know, I'm just going to connect this fuel line, goes to the fuel filter, and then this is overfill, which I'll check. You can also take, I don't know where it went. So there's something right here underneath here. You can actually take this compartment off, but it's held up by a spring and a diaphragm in there. So you can mess with that if you want, but I wasn't touching it. Choke. Throttle. Wow. All right, throttle's in. All right. The real question is, will it start is one question, and then will it keep running if I tilt it, if I trim it, and then release the trim? Because that's where I was getting stalls for like, 20 minutes at a time. It wouldn't start up. So let's go. So I didn't realize this at the time I made the video. I'm now editing this, 3 months later. It was because of there's so much gum around the gasket and the edge of the carburetor, air is getting through. So there's not a proper seal there. That's why, like, I get it running, but it's just not running well, and it stalls out because the gas isn't flowing properly. But I can assure you my engine's running amazing right now. Top speed, 19 miles an hour, 20 miles an hour, and not stalling. See, that's where it stalls out. So that's the video. Taking apart the carb, it wasn't that bad.
I hope you like it. I hope it helped. If you're into fishing or you're into cleaning carbs, like I make videos like this a lot, so you check out my channel, subscribe. I'd love to have you. If you are fishing, I hope you catch a real big bass soon. Enjoy the rest of your summer. Take care. Thanks. Bye.